The points update for Warhammer 40,000 is finally here, and in this video we're going to be covering over the biggest winners, the biggest losers, who's gone up, who's gone down, what you need to know, and also how this is going to significantly affect some of those really big and powerful army lists out there in the game. We're also going to be covering in other videos the rules implications, the changes, how that's going to be shaking up the meta. So I really hope you enjoy the video. Over to Jake and Jordan.
It's time now to take a look at the Munitorum Field Manual. So this is the points document that comes alongside the balanced data slate. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to review all of the points changes for every single faction, and we're going to basically look at whether or not they could have done with more or less, or we're going to give our opinion on the points changes in regards to obviously balanced data slate changes as well. So Jake, let's start off with the very first faction. What is it?
Right, it's Adepta Sororitas. So an army that did receive some love in the balanced data slate in the form of they now get more miracle dice when their units die. They've also had some love in points as well. So we're seeing the Arcos go down 10 points, but only if you take a 10-man unit of them. The free mans have stayed the same. So those sort of mission pieces we've seen stay the same, but the bigger units now, if you're actually wanting to invest the points, have gone down. The Sacrosancts have gone down. So if you take 5 of them, they're now down 5 points. But if you take 10 of them, they're down 20 points. Okay. Which is really interesting to see. Dominions have gone down 10 as well, and then Repentia have gone down 5 for 5 and 10 for 10. And then finally, we've got Seraphim that have also received a similar change to the Sacrosancts, where they've gone down 5 points for 5, and they've actually gone 20 points down for 10. And Zephyrim have also received a similar change, but they've only gone down 10 points for 10. So overall, it's a lot of points drops across the board for Sisters. Definitely getting some models back. You may actually see a bit more Repentia on the table now at 85 points for a 5-man unit. I don't think is too bad, depending on what attachment you use. And overall, I think with the balanced data slate changes as well, having more units on the table, Sisters is going to mean more miracle dice, which is, I know, the biggest sort of complaint Sisters players had. They lost so many miracle dice. Yeah, I mean, they got hit very hard in previous balanced data slates with obviously rules changes, points increases. Probably for like 3 data slates in a row, it was just points increase after points increase. So seeing as maybe some points back, you might be able to see these competitively again, because their win rate did drop quite a bit because of all these changes. Yeah, I definitely think Sisters were dropped by a lot of the sort of more experienced tournament goers out there. They weren't as loved because of how hard these changes were, and obviously there were just better things out there. Hopefully with these changes along with the balanced data slate, we will see a bit of a rise in Sisters players back, but also more importantly their win rate go back to a nice middle ground. We don't want it to where it was before, but we don't want it where it is now, really. Yeah, we want it to be an enjoyable game to play against them, and we don't want them to have like 5 units on the board. They still need to have a decent amount of units on the board, right? Yeah. So points decreases, positive move from GW on the Sisters. So hopefully, Sisters players, this is a positive move for you guys. So the next army is Adeptus Custodians. So an army that obviously our favourite box has been using a lot. They have had a mix of changes, actually. Okay. So let's talk about the increases first, because there are some to note. So Blade Champ has gone up 10 points. Wardens have gone up 10, either if you take them as 4 or 5, they've gone up 10 either way. They've gone up 10 points for the Venerable Dreadnought and 10 points for the Telemann. So what we can tell with this change is that the Solar Spearhead has really been a bit of a target of these changes. Wardens, I think, is fair to say, and Blade Champ's fair to say any list, really. Yeah. But specifically the Telemann and the Venerable Dreads going up is a sign of them being used quite a lot. On top of that as well, we actually see a enhancement go up in points. The Augury Uplink actually also went up 10 points in the Solar Spearhead. Okay. So overall, that's the sort of nerfs, as you were, to those models. In terms of buffs, though, we do actually have quite a few units that also went down in points. So Alea has gone down 10 points. We've got Custodian Guard have gone down 10, whether you take them as a 4 or a 5. The Shield Captain, Basic Shield Captain, well, actually, no, sorry, all variants of Shield Captain. So Basic Shield Captain on foot, Terminator and Bike have all gone down 10 points as well. So, yeah, like that's pretty good across the board. Shield Captains, to be honest, were probably slightly overpointed what they were. We weren't really seeing them too much. Maybe the Terminator one at most. Obviously, Steve was using a lot of the bike ones, but seeing them going down in points is a really positive change, and hopefully now that Blade Champ's also gone up 10 points, maybe a bit of an argument to put a Shield Captain in there, maybe. Yeah, I don't know why the Guard went down, because if I'm honest, that just kind of cancels out the Wardens going up,
Because it's just a straight swap, really, now, isn't it?
I think it very much depends, because a lot of lists you didn't actually see that many Guard in anyway.
Right,
so I still think the lists will go up if they're just taking Wardens. But I do agree with the fact of, you know, you could just swap them for Guard, but Wardens, the reason people took Wardens was the tankiness of them, whereas the Guard don't have that. So I think it'll be interesting to see how Custodian players move on from here, along with obviously the Solar Spearhead as well changing. Maybe the Lines of the Emperor's attachment, the new detachment for the Custodians, maybe could replace that as a good detachment. Who knows?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Custodians have definitely had a lot of love in this balanced data slate, really, haven't they? Because new detachment, but obviously some key units going down in points as well. So yeah, positive for Custodians.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I think if you're a Solar Spearhead player, you're going to see some negatives, I'm not going to lie to you. But if you are but you've got a lot of options to pivot to, because you've got a whole new detachment, you've got a whole load of points drops as well, and I think that overall it will come out in the wash, these points increases, but only time will tell. But yeah, I think, like you said, it is a good thing for the Custodians overall.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What's the next faction?
So next up, Jord, is everyone's favourite robots. No, it's not the Necrons, it's the Adeptus Mechanicus. These guys actually had no changes at all, really. No balanced data slate changes. But we have had a points decrease.
Okay.
Belisarius Call, everyone, has gone down another 15 points. So he is now 135 points. Now, do I think you would take Call at this points cost?
I mean, he's pretty good for that points cost.
Yeah, I think the issue Call has, I think, is that all his buffs are so great, like the aura'd buffs, but you only get to pick one.
Right.
If he maybe went as like a Guilliman style with two, I think that maybe he, you know, like I think you would see him a lot more. But I think it's maybe a rules issue on this model rather than how cheap he is.
Yeah.
I could be completely wrong though. 135 points for his stat line and buffs. It's pretty good.
I mean, I don't think Admech. I think Admechs have potential to be a strong faction. Like, certain builds can be pretty good. And I think if you did include him with his buffs, with the battle line buffs as well, with Pariah Nexus mission pack, he definitely has a lot of synergies that would work. So Admech players, let us know in the comments if you think this is a positive change. Obviously, it'd be interesting to see your feedback on that.
Yeah, I think the other interesting thing as well, just on that note before we move on, is that I think a lot of the time Adeptus Mechanicus players are more looking at taking characters just for like an enhancement unit to sit on, so like that you give that unit an enhancement rather than using the characters for their buffs.
Yeah.
The only ones that I sort of really like personally are like the Dominuses and the Manipuluses, but overall I think maybe, just from my experience, you just sort of see them sit as that enhancement holder. Yeah. Whereas Call, because he can't do that, and he is also like the same points as free marshals, that's maybe why he doesn't go in lists. Again, Admech players, I'm not an Admech player. You have to let us know in the chat, in the comment section below, and then you can say chat. So used to live streaming. But yeah, so that's what I would see from that side of things.
All right. Well, fantastic. What is the next faction?
So Aeldari, the old kids / new kids on the block, new codex, have only been out a few weeks, so haven't had a lot of time to test the waters. But it is really positive to see Games Workshop making some changes, not only in the balance data slate, but also in the points. Yeah. Because overall, it's all gone up. Okay, well, not all of it's gone up, sorry, but a few units have gone up, a lot of key units. So let's have a look at them. Dark Reapers, they're the same cost as they were before, so they're 90 points for 5 points, no change there. But for 10 models, you're now looking at 195 points. You need 200 points for a 10-man unit of them. The Dire Avengers have gone up 5 and 10, depending on how many you take. Okay. Fire Dragons have gone up 10 and 20, again, depending on how many you take. Striking Scorpions have gone up 10 for 5, but a 10-man unit hasn't gone up at all.
Okay.
Which is cool to see. And a Wave Serpent's gone up 10 as well. So that is all the changes for the Aeldari in terms of points. But we've also got to remember that our favourite crash test dummy, Azurman, with his always surprised face, he's going to be quite shocked because he has lost anti-infantry 3+ and now anti-infantry 5+ when he goes Super Saiyan on his guns. Yeah,
I mean, that little combo we saw with the Wave Serpent, the 10 Dire Avengers, Azurman, getting in, shooting what they want, get back into the Wave Serpent. That's definitely gone up in points by quite a bit.
It's gone up by 20.
20 points. Yeah. And then obviously Azurman's took a hit on his own Super Saiyan ability.
Yeah, I think definitely that combo isn't as efficient anymore. If we have a look at it a bit more in depth, Dark Reapers in 10-mans was something that a lot of people were using. So it's quite interesting to see Games Workshop go, okay, well, up the 10-man unit, but now the 2 5s. So how you could actually mitigate this points increase is you instead of taking 2 units of 10, you take 2 2 units of 5 and a unit of 10, and then you actually have no points increase there whatsoever. But you're not just going to be able to put all your eggs in one basket, which I actually like.
Well, this is it, because I mean, I haven't really played Eldar yet competitively, but from seeing, like, you'd have the Autarch obviously join the 10, you're then going to get the free stratagem, aren't you, on them, or the reducing cost stratagem on an Autarch. So that combo with the 10 obviously can be less efficient. If you had that and the Fire Dragons and the Dire Avengers, then it's obviously going to go up by quite a bit on your list.
I think it's fair to say that every single unit that went up in points are being used in the armies quite a bit. Mostly Fire Dragons, like you're normally seeing 3 units of them in most lists, so that's gone up 30 points already if you were using that. If you had a Wave Serpent or 2 to put that in, that's 20 points potentially gone up by, another 15 or 30 for those Dark Reapers, but luckily we found a bit of a workaround with the Dark Reapers there. And then that Azurman combo as well has gone up minimum 5 points just for the Dire Avengers alone. So overall it is a lot of points increases, but interesting things to note is that things like Swooping Hawks didn't get hit at all. Baharov didn't get hit at all. Actually, none of the Phoenix Lords went up in points. So I think that's an overall positive. So I think, you know, these Fire Dragons going up in points, maybe you only take 2 units of them now, or you'll have at least to drop a lot of mission playing pieces to keep your list as it is.
Yeah, I completely agree there, mate. What is the next faction?
Perfect. So next up, we've got the Astra Militarum. So again, another new codex, not as new as the Aeldari, but only recently actually been able to be allowed at events. Now they received quite a few changes in the balance data slate.
Well, another bad boy in the case of metas and army lists. Bridgehead Strike. Looking at you.
We're looking at you, but maybe not looking at you anymore.
No.
But what is interesting to see is the points increases here. Now there are only points increases. There's no decreases to note. So Cadian and Catachan weapon teams have gone up 15 points for free. That's quite a big deal, and I'll talk about that in a second. The Militarum Tempestus Command Squad went up by 10. The Scions went up by 5 and 10, depending on how many you take. So obviously 5 for 5, 10 for 10. And then finally, the Field Ordnance Battery also went up by 10. And then finally, the Bridgehead Strike, the Bombast class Vox array.
The Jar Jar Binks array, the Bombast.
The Bombast class went up 10 points as well. So overall, that Bridgehead Strike list got hit hard. I definitely think that this nerf is warranted, but I don't know if it's maybe a bit too heavy-handed. And the only reason I'm going to talk about why. So definitely agree with the heavy weapon teams going up in points. We are seeing in a lot of top guard lists, instantly goes in 9 mortars and Ursula Creed. Okay, the reason for that is because Ursula Creed can do 3 orders. Don't think I need to explain it more than there. All the mortars then, indirect fire, very prevalent into Eldar. Okay, that's why it's sort of a meta's changed to put a lot of indirect fire in lists. Because of this, great to see them go up. So that sort of build has now gone up 45 points alone. When it comes to the Scions, now I agree that a unit of them is very, very strong. The spam of them in Bridgehead was a bit overwhelming. A lot of the time you're seeing 3 to maybe 4 units of Scions in Bridgehead Strike. If you're taking 10 mans, that's gone up 40 points alone. Okay, normally a lot of the time you would see 2 10 mans, 2 5 mans, so that's 30 points that's gone up. All the command squads, you'd see 3 of them as well, that's another 30 points. Now, I agreed that Bridgehead needs to be nerfed. And I'm glad to see it has. I'm really, really positive to see Games Workshop has nerfed it. Because that ability, Unit Scions comes down, +1 to wound. With their new ability to reroll wounds as well, you can order them for +1 to hit. Just creates a whole cavalcade of madness when it comes to shooting. And then using that sort of firing hot shot stratagem as well. They could come down and just kill any unit, especially if they had that turn 1 deep strike as well. So I'm glad to see it nerfed overall. My concern is when you look at maybe other lists that weren't spamming them. So like 1 unit of them is fine in a list. So, you know, I know Michael's been playing around with the Siege Regiment where he takes unit of Scions and Command Squad. That's gone up 20 points. That's not too bad. So I think this is more of a hit to Bridgehead than it is a hit to General Guard lists.
Yeah, absolutely.
The biggest nerf here, in my opinion, is actually to these Cadian and Catachan heavy weapon teams. Going up 15 points is quite significant, especially when you were taking 3 units of them. Maybe unsure if you take 3 units now, maybe you just take 2. But I think, again, on this front, it will be an only time will tell side of it. But overall, it is a nerf for the Guard. And I think rightly so. And one that I'm happy to see, but I don't think it destroys the faction in any way. I think they've got lots of ways they can pivot into other things. So if you were playing Bridgehead Strike, Combined arms detachment's looking pretty tasty, even tastier now in my opinion.
Well, so's the transport detachment, because that effectively gives you the same as Bridgehead Strike.
Yes.
In terms of the ruling, you just obviously deep striking, you just disembarking for transport.
Yeah, I do like that detachment, and also the Hammer of the Emperor as well for the tank detachment. I actually think that the Guard, I think what it's now going to do is take people going away from this Grotmus detachment. If you're still going to run it, I do still think this Bridgehead Strike does have some fantastic abilities as well. That is something I will say. So don't take this as, don't ever use Bridgehead Strike. It's not. It's just those ones that are spamming it have been hit, which is great. But overall, I think it's going to put Guard players' mindset back into the Codex and see what we can really come up with from there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, overall, some really big debuffs for the Guard. What's the next faction?
Next up, we have the Black Templars, so one of the first sort of Space Marine factions on the list. It's nothing. They didn't have any changes whatsoever. They don't really get affected by the Oath of Moment change either. So overall, it's stagnant for the Black Templars. Now, do things getting nerfed around them help? Yes, quite considerably. But is it just better to take normal Marines at the moment? I think also yes.
It depends if you're a Black Templar player, isn't it? I guess, obviously, Black Templars aren't really majorly winning events, or they're not doing amazingly. I think they're one of the lower win rates for factions. So maybe they could have done with some points decreases, but again, it's what do you drop until it gets to a point where they're too cheap? Yeah,
I think because they were so dominant at one point, and it was that either that spam of tank lists they could do, or the fact that Sword Brethren are just ballers, and they still are.
Yeah.
I just think that this Oath of Moment change is such an important one for the Codex Marines that I think that every other supplement just doesn't look as good as them, which is, not a big problem.
No.
Because for some factions like Dark Angels, it's fine. But I just think for other armies, it's, for the Black Templar specifically, I think they just suffer a bit from it. And because of it, I just think they're stagnant. They're not buffed and they're not debuffed. If the meta changes around them, they may become really, really good.
Yeah.
If the meta doesn't change, then they're still going to be as they are. It's fine. I think it's all fine.
Well, let us know in the comments, Black Templar players, if you are happy with this, if you was expecting changes. I mean, we're not too... I don't really think any of us expected Black Templars to have big changes. So let us know what your thoughts are in the comments.
We have Blood Angels. Now, I'm going to throw to George once I've spoken about the points on this, but I do also want to add a 2 pence in, unless you cover it for me already. So, in terms of points, it's a lot of points drops, but 1 slight points increase. So, the Death Company Captain with Jump Pack has gone down 10 points. Death Company Marines on foot have gone down 5 for 5, or 20 for 10. And then the Death Company Marines with Bolt Rifles have also gone down 5 for 5 and 20 for 10. And then finally, the points increase is seen in the Liberator Assault Group, where the Rage Fuel Warrior has gone up 10 points. George?
Okay.
Tell me what you think about it.
Well, let's just start with the easy thing, the Death Company. Death Company with bolt guns, let's not even look at them. Okay, they're not really anything I would really look at considering. But Death Company on foot going down 20 points for 10. I mean, they might look a bit more viable. They get sustained hits if they're below starting strength, so they might have a bit more, but just jump packs are better. So I think they're never going to take contention over that. The
other thing as well for me personally is Assault Intercessors.
Yeah.
They're pretty good anyway.
Yeah, I don't think you need them. They're just, unfortunately, and the Death Company detachment needs reworking really to make it, I think, a bit more viable competitively. But the big talking point here is Rage Fueled Warrior. Now, I do not know why this has gone up. 35 points for this enhancement. I don't think it's strong. It's a good enhancement, but I think it's been hit because of Bloodless Angels.
So I agree and disagree. So on that point, I do want to talk about Bloodless Angels. So that is not a thing anymore. If you're unsure what we're talking about when we talk about Bloodless Angels, previously you could be Codex Space Marines and take the Liberator Assault Group, and providing you don't take any Blood Angels units, so Death Company or the Sanguine or anything like that, you could gain the benefit of the Oath of Moment. Now, that has gone. That's not a thing. You now only get the Oath of Moment if you are a detachment from the Space Marine Codex and you don't have any of these specific chapters. So I do agree. I think that, that being gone is a big... It's funny, I'm going to say it's a nerf to Blood Angels, but it's not. It's not, because it's...
I don't think it was ever intended.
It depends on how they look at the win rate of Blood Angels. Are they looking at it by the detachment, or are they looking at it by if your army is actually Blood Angels, right? In terms of Rageful Warrior going up, it's actually quite an interesting one, because it seems that a bit of a theme in this Munitorum Field Manual is that if you've got a really good enhancement, no matter who you are, it is about 35 points. Okay, and I'm not saying this is like they've done that intentionally, because I have no idea, but you can sort of tell that, like, if it's the best enhancement in your little group, it's gone up a bit. Okay, because there's some other armies that felt this. Obviously, we spoke about Bridgehead Strike already, that went up by 10 points on their one. Just sort of, you know, there's some more to come as well. I don't want to spoil the rest of the video, but there is more to come on this. So yeah, so it's just it's one to note, I think, it's fair to say.
No, I understand that point of view. I just think for a once per game ability, for 35 points, it kind of goes into a contention of, do you ever take it?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think it was a cool thematic ability that, look, if it pops off, it's crazy, right? But then I've been to an event and it's not done anything.
Yeah.
So it's one of them.
Yeah, I do think, though, now, hear me out, Kay, that Death Company Captain with Jump Hat going down 10 points, you could see him with Rage Fueled Warrior, and he could go in a small little unit of Death Company, not flying ones, but, you know, like, sorry, flying ones, if he wanted to do that. Obviously, I understand that from sort of looking at Blood Angels, they only really take one unit of Death Company, but maybe there's an argument to say you try out this unit, or 10 points isn't loads, okay, so we can maybe jiggle bits about. Again, I think this will be only time will tell. It'll be interesting to talk about these changes and look back on them when we talk about Space Marines, though. Yeah,
Space Marines obviously has a massive impact on this, but I think overall, I think Blood Angels, they were never going to get points decreases because of Bloodless Angels, and then nothing's really impacted. The same as Black Templars. Yeah. I think Blood Angels sit in a situation where they probably just need to everything stay the same.
Yeah.
Because I think they're quite a balanced faction.
Yeah, I think you'll probably see a drop in win rate on Blood Angels, but depending on how they look at the win rates, if you're a big statistician, then again, looking at Blood Angels' win rate, if you're looking at it purely from BCP, then the reason the win rate probably was quite high is because of Bloodless Angels.
Yes.
But now you can't do that anymore. It goes down, okay? Yeah. So, yeah, overall, we're pretty sure it's stagnant, though, if we look at proper Blood Angels.
Agreed.
Let's talk about Demons next. Now, this is one that I'm super excited for, and we do have a Demons video coming. It may already be out at the time of this video being out.
We're finally covering some Demon content.
We are, because the Chaos Demons have had a whole new index. Super cool, super interesting. Now, not everything has changed to this index, but there's a lot of points increases and decreases to reflect things that have. So let's talk about them first. So Be'lakor has gone up 50 points.
He has had some really good changes to his rules.
He has indeed. Again, we'll talk about that once we talk about the points. But yeah, Be'lakor going up 50 points, probably one of the biggest notes there. The Contorted Epitome has gone up 20. Fiends have gone up 5 for 3 or 6 for 10. The Rotigus has gone up 20. Great Unclean Ones have gone up 20. Fleshhounds have gone up 5 for 5 and 10 for 10. The Mask of Slanesh has gone up 10. And then finally, in the enhancements, the Endless Gift has gone up 10 points to 45 points. Tied, I believe now, for the most expensive enhancement in the game. That another enhancement we're actually going to be talking about later. So again, if you're interested, for my weird like top most expensive
enhancement.
So this is tied for it.
I mean, good. A 4 at Filner Pain on a Great Unclean One was very impressive.
Yeah, because it does still do that as well.
Yeah,
something to know. Okay, but let's talk about the increases first. We saw a lot of Demon players were looking at Great Unclean Ones. That was always in their list. That has gone up 30 points, for that combo alone. In terms of like everyone was taking Fiends, it seems they've gone up 5 points and 10 points respectively, and I believe have had some rules changes maybe. 20 points up on the Contorted Epitome. Not too sure on that. I'm not really sure what she did. I know she now has Fight First though, which is obviously quite a big deal. Fleshhounds going up as well. I believe they were just like good mission playing pieces. The Mask going up again, like maybe just because it's low op, but overall a bit weird.
I mean, look, the Slanesh of units have had a massive nerf
yes, they
overall, have. Because obviously they were doing really well with their detachment, the Legion of Excess detachment, but then all their data sheets have gone in line now with the Emperor's Children Codex, unless it's a data sheet that's not in the Codex.
Yeah, so on that note of units going down, let's now have a look at the bit of the winners here. So Flamers have gone down 10 for 3 and 6 of them have gone down 20.
Okay.
I really like that change personally. Screamers have gone down 5 for 3 and 10 for 6. Shalaxi Hellbane has gone down 45 points to represent her change to her data slate.
Okay, that's fair.
And then finally Nurglings have gone down 5, 10 and 15 depending on how many you take.
Okay.
So overall, it's a bit of a up and down. I think overall it's more of an up than a down because I honestly don't think you take Shalaxi anymore. I think a lot of demon lists were taking, like Be'lakor, Great Unclean One, Lord of Change, Shalaxi. I think now you take Shalaxi out, and then you have, I think all these points increases now are mitigated for.
I think also though the thing we have to bear in mind with this one is a lot of the data sheets have changed.
Yes.
And I think the lists won't stay the same because of that reason.
Like I personally think, like we were talking about this before recording, I actually think that a lot of the Slaanesh side of the list will now be replaced with Khorne.
Yeah.
But I also do think, though, on that note, for like the big monsters, but I actually think for the little skirmishing pieces, things like Demonettes now are actually a lot better because they have fight first.
I think Demonettes, you'll see it quite a bit, actually.
Yeah.
Demonettes, Bloodletters look pretty good now as well.
Yeah, Bloodletter's having some changes. And again, if you want to have a look at all the changes, we will have a video coming. It may already be out. If it does, then go check it out. But if not, then it should be out soon as well. So, so great things to note there. But yeah, overall, I think Demons, it's a weird one. I think it's a really weird one with Demons, and to the point where I'm not going to be able to call it if this is really a buff or a nerf. Like, in terms of things that are really positive to note, Demon players, you can use your army, okay? Like, I know a lot of people were scared about seeing the Emperor's Children book and seeing that, oh no, like I can't use certain things of this. Guys, you can, okay? It's right here. You've got a whole index and it's very, very cool. Has added a new way to play. Demons now have 5 detachments in total. Yeah. They have nearly as many as
it's a codex, effectively.
Yeah, so, you've got like one for each god, you've got a base one, and then you also have the brand new Shadow Legions as well.
Which is looking very strong, by the way.
Do like that. Again, we cover that in the index as well, so we'll talk about it there. But overall, I think it is just I think it's so different that I honestly have no idea. I think it may be a buff though, maybe.
I think it's more of a buff than a debuff. But let us know in the comments, Demon players, how you're feeling about the points changes for your faction.
So next up, we've got Chaos Knights. So again, this one's pretty simple. It's all just points decreases. So we've got the Desecrator has gone down 10 points, the Despoiler has gone down 15 points, and the Knight Tyrant has gone down a whopping 30 points. So,
I think these are positive changes.
Yeah, I think I think it's just another step in the direction of try and take a big knight in your Chaos Knight army. Now, I have a friend of mine who, he loves his Chaos Knights. He actually uses a Lancer in all of his Chaos Knight armies, and even 2 Lancers sometimes. So if you are that much of a legend that you can run 2 Lancers, then that's good. Sadly, they didn't have any points decreases though, so boo. But overall, I think it's a positive change. I do just think, though, War Dog spam is better. And I think that is the very unfortunate thing. But it's nice to see another step in that direction.
Hopefully we can start to see the big knights come into competitive lists. Because, like you said, War Dog spam is always going to be better. And the fact that you're going to have more models to do the mission, they still kick out damage, there's still a stat check. So you don't actually need a big knight. And I think this is, because you can have a character little knight, there's always going to be that case, I feel, and I don't know if points will actually change that fact. But it's a positive move anyway, but we don't want them to get too cheap.
They're 400 points for those 2 big ones, and the Tyrant's 480. So again, I think any time will tell. But to be honest, it's a buff, but I don't know how much of a significant one it is.
Yeah,
okay. Chaos Space Marines next up, one of my favourite armies in the game. So they have had, again, some things go up and some things go down. Let's have a look at what's gone up first. So Chaos Predators. The Predator Annihilator has gone up 5 points. The Destructor, though, has stayed the same.
Okay. I think we saw the Destructor more than we saw the Annihilator, so it's a bit of a weird change, that, right?
Yeah. Overall, I think that it's not really significant points decrease.
It's a bit of a weird one. Yeah,
I think but something to note is that Predators across the board have just gone up in points. So this isn't a change just for Chaos Space Marines. This is actually going to impact every army that uses Predators. But in terms of points decreases, quite interesting ones on here. A Forge Fiend has gone down 10 points.
Okay.
That now makes it cheaper than a Vindicator. I don't know, because these guys were really good before. In the Index Hammer, you were seeing 2 to 3 of these in every list.
I mean, they're really good in Soulforged Warpack. I know you're not seeing that competitively, but I've seen a few lists, but not like a staple. But then that in Pack-Bound Zealots.
Pack-Bound Zealot is probably the best one for the Nurgle. I also really like them in Veterans of the Long War. and Renegade Raiders, so you can advance and shoot. But yeah, pretty good one there. And another one to note, the Lord Discordant has gone down 15 points. I don't think that's as significant as the Forge Fiend.
No.
I think the Forge Fiend now going to cheaper than a Vindicator, which I just will point out, the Vindicator for Chaos Space Marines hasn't changed in points.
Yeah.
But I think overall, seeing that, it's now 5 points cheaper. If you're wanting to, you know, keep those Predators in and you had some Vindicators, you can just do a straight swap.
I still think Vindicators should have gone up. They either should have gone up or maybe a change on their shot amount. I think if you look at the Guards, Rogal Gauntlet, their blast cannon, what's it called?
The Demolisher Cannon.
Demolisher
Ironically,
cannon,
the same thing as the
yeah,
Vindicator.
yeah. So that's got less shots now in the Guard Codex. So kind of expecting to see Vindicators go to that level.
Yeah.
Which might take a bit of the auto-including a lot of lists out of the contention.
Yeah, I will say this, that I do think we see Vindicators a lot, and Vindicators have gone up for Space Marines, just as a note for everybody. They have been seen in every list, okay, since they had their points decrease initially. All I'm saying, Mr. Phil, my good friend Phil, you were the originator, and we know you were. Okay, so it's interesting to see Chaos Space Marines 1 not go up, because arguably they are the one that is more powerful, in my opinion.
You get Dark Packs, right?
Well, this is the thing. So you have a Demolisher Cannon with Sustained, which is amazing, and they do have access to reroll hits in the form of Abaddon or the if you play Veterans of the Long War. But obviously, I don't know, like maybe just re-rolling all your hits for both moment is better with +1 wound. I don't know.
I mean, it is better in the fact that you've got both of the abilities on a Vindicator, because it means Vindicators pretty much wound everything on a game on a 2+.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything.
Pretty much, yeah. But
unless there's minuses involved. But it does. I do just think the Vindicators probably need to go up a bit more to make it less of a take 3 in every list.
Yeah, and you know, I think I do agree with you there. But overall, I do actually think it's a buff for Chaos Space Marines.
Agreed.
Now, the Predators going up is obviously quite sad. But if you do want to swap, just as an easy one, just off the top of my head, you could swap your 2 Vindicators for 2 Forge Fiends. You can keep all your Predators and nobody worries. So next up is the third sort of Codex supplement of Space Marines. It is the Dark Angels. Now, they have received no changes of their base units, which is fine, because I think finally we're at a point where Dark Angels aren't the best Space Marines.
Yeah.
Shown by our bloodless angels.
Well, they might go back to that space after that.
But this is the thing now. This is the thing to note, actually, and this is the thing I want to talk about, is that now there's not bloodless angels anymore. Is Ultramarines the best, or is it the case of maybe one of these Codex supplements could come back? Let us know in the comments what you think about that. But yeah, I definitely think it's an interesting thing to note. But in terms of Dark Angels, there are no points increases, there are no points decreases, so I just think they're going to stay stagnant.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's one of those factions like Blood Angels and Black Templars. Kind of don't expect any changes to them, so fair play.
So next up is Death Guard. Now, Death Guard have received the Predator change, so the Annihilator has gone up 5 points, but their Destructor has gone up 10 points. Now, the Destructor in the CSM book now is the same points as the Death Guard one, by this points increase. So again, interesting one. I know there were a lot of Death Guard players that were using Predators, so this is a bit of a nerf for them. But my Fetic Blight Haulers have gone down 5, 10 and 15 respectively. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I think I'm not the biggest Death Guard player. I know we obviously have a fantastic community, and the Discuss Your Resilience podcast, Aidan, Dave, who are both on our team for Vanguard Tactics. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see their thoughts on the change of this. But I do think that it's not too big of a deal.
No, not really.
You know, like you're only losing maybe like if you took 3 of the Destructors, maybe you're losing like 30 points in your list, but not enough to matter. Like that could be something so insignificant to drop, I feel, for a Death Guard list that I think it'd be fine. I think they're just going to stay stagnant, to be honest. What do you think?
No, I completely agree. Again, it might be just one of those factions like we've mentioned with Dark Angels, Blood Angels, etc., that kind of sits in the middle, doesn't need too many changes. Maybe the Terminators, the normal Terminators, Blight Lord Terminators, I don't know if they could have come down potentially. I don't know if we see them too much anymore.
Yeah, something to note is their Codex is on the roadmap. Yeah. So who knows, like this could all be completely different when it comes to the Codex. True. But only time will tell on this front. I could see this just being maybe a stopgap for what is to come.
Yeah, agreed.
So next up is Deathwatch. So an army that actually won the biggest event ever for Warhammer 40,000 has only received actually a up and a down And it's on the same unit, Jord.
Right.
Okay, so
yeah.
if you take Deathwatch Terminators, if you're taking 5, they've gone up 10. But equally, if you take 10, they've gone down 10.
Okay.
To be honest, I don't think this change does anything.
Not really. I think Deathwatch are one of the strongest factions in the game currently. Their index came out hitting. It's a very strong index. And I don't know what points. I mean, the kill teams are already very expensive, so I don't know if points is what is needed to kind of balance the index a little bit. Maybe that comes more down to rules, restrictions potentially on the army itself.
Yeah, I do agree. I think Deathwatch sort of sit in that category of they are strong, they are very good, and I think again, only time will tell. But I don't think they've been buffed. I don't think they've been nerfed. I think this is stagnant. I think, to be honest, when we look at the Codex Space Marines, that's when we have a better indication of how the faction's going to be. Next up, we've got Drukhari. I know one that you were dabbling in. I'm not unsure anymore if you are.
No, I still have been looking at them.
Okay.
Still have been looking at them.
Interesting. So we'll get your thoughts on this one, Jord. Cabalite Warriors and Witches have both gone down 10 points each.
I mean, it's a good decrease. You're going to see less or more points for your Drukhari armies because everyone's taking Cabalite Warriors and most people are taking Lilith and Witches, right?
Yeah.
So you're definitely going to be seeing probably 20 to 30 points in the list.
Yeah, but is that significant enough to really change where they are, though? I don't think
I don't think it changes where they are, but I think Drukhari are one of those armies where it's a high skill level faction that I think what it might do is it actually might allow different unit selections in the list rather than like, because if you got 30 points, I might be able to upgrade a certain unit to a better unit or something. So I think it's positive that they've done that for Drukhari because they probably do need a little bit of help.
Yeah, I do agree, but overall I do just have to think that like if an army is struggling and then it's only lost like 20 points, that's not enough to put it into a different place. I could be completely wrong, but equally we've also got to think about other things nerfing around them could be a positive for them as well. So again, I'm just going to say they're going to stay where they are. But again, like I keep saying, only time will tell. That will become my new catchphrase, I think.
Absolutely.
So next up, we've got Emperor's Children.
Yes, the Emperor's Children. So the new kids on the block.
The actual new kids on the block.
The actual new kids on the block. There's a lot of changes. But I think this is to be expected with a brand new codex. Normally they change the points from the codex points at the back of the book. Yeah,
so I actually want to look at this from the point of view of brand new points, because really we haven't actually seen these in play at all. So first off, amazing to see that an army that hasn't even been played yet, they've noticed things that don't look right and noticed things that may be seen a bit overcosted and have already made changes. So really positive there. Thank you, Games Workshop. I know some people don't like it. I, for one, do.
Yep, agreed.
Okay. Let's talk about things that went up in points from the Codex. So Chaos Rhinos have gone up 5 points. Chaos Spawn have gone up 10 points. And then there's an assortment of enhancements that have gone up as well across the board. Like basically every detachment has seen a form of increase on some enhancements as well. I'm not going to name each one just because purely there's so many that we're going to be here for ages. Okay. So overall, like, doesn't really sit any nerfs. Those units to put in transports have obviously gone up, so that that dedicated box for them. And Spawn, which were already a really good unit for Emperor's Children, going up I think is fair as well.
Well, yeah, I think in general the Spawn and the Rhinos I think are very, very good units for Emperor's Children because they've got better rules than anyone else's really. But I think overall the points for Emperor's Children are a positive thing. If we look at the ones that have gone down.
Yeah, so there's a whole load that have gone down. Yeah. So let's go for it. Chaos Terminators have gone down 5 points for 5. Take them in 5s. Demon Prince with Wings has gone down 15. Flawless Blades have gone down a whopping 20 for 3 and 40 for 6. Yep. Infractors have gone down 10 for 5 and 30 for 10. The Lord Exultant has gone down 5. The Lord Cataphronist has gone down 10. Lucius has stayed the same. Mauler Fiends have gone down 10. Sorcerer has gone down 10. Tormentors have gone down 10 for 5 and 20 for 10. Keeper of Secrets has gone down 20. Salaxi Hellbane has gone down 10. She's actually cheaper than in the Index Chaos Demons in this book, which is quite interesting to note. Demonettes have gone down 30. A whopping 30.
Yeah, 30 points.
And Fiends have gone down 35 for 3 and 70 for 6.
Yeah, I think the demon changes is a lot. They're very cheap now. Be interesting to compare them actually to the demon points. But I think overall...
Maybe a future video.
Maybe a future video, exactly. But I think overall, Flawless Blades probably deserve to come down.
I agree.
To 110. They're very restricted. There's only one character that can lead them. And also there's only one transport you can take for them. They're also less durable than anything of that sort of unit stature.
Yeah, the character you want leading them is just better on his own.
He's better on his own.
Yeah.
I think in certain matchups he might benefit a lot from them.
I just think
overall,
though, like being this is just better.
Yeah.
Positive things to note though, Noise Marines have stayed the same points, and they were already a unit that, you know, most of the games we've seen have been taking 3 of, including our own preview game we did.
Yep.
And yeah, like I just think overall, you can't comment on Emperor's Children because they haven't been in the wild.
Yeah.
I think they still have that age-old problem. They're going to struggle with armour. They're going to really struggle into big targets, big stat-checky type lists.
Yeah.
Because yes, I know a lot of people going on about this Flawless Blade ability being really good. It's only going to get it once and then you get shot off. So is it enough? Is this points drop enough for them?
Well, this is it. I think we'll have to see the codex out in a while. I do think Emperor's Children are a good codex, and I don't think they need many rules changes. Because in certain, I think combat matchups they're going to do very well into. They're just, unfortunately, they're a combat army that's coming to a shooting meta.
Exactly that, yeah. I do 100% agree with you. I think they are really, really good at combat, maybe one of the best armies at it.
Yeah.
But I do think overall they do suffer into the current meta. So I just think, again, it's stagnant. To keep going,
yeah.
Only time will tell.
Yeah, exactly.
Next up, we've got Codex Genestealer Cult. Now, there's only 1 points increase here, and that is the 20-man unit. Neophytes have gone up 15 points for 20. But
Okay.
The units of 10 have not changed. Now, I think this is pretty much a completely targeted nerf to the Host of Ascensions attachment, one that we actually have done recently on our masterclass, which was quite funny. You know, did very well at the Manchester GT. Great to see this sort of change. You know, it just means that if you're taking these massive squads that can come back, bring back models, be very oppressive in some capacity, if you're taking 3 units of them, which we saw, I believe, at the Manchester GT, 45 points, your list has gone up, quite a significant amount. So I do think to that build it's a nerf, but to everything else, they're just going to stay the same, I think.
Yeah, and I don't think Genestealer Cult needed too many changes.
Next up, we've got Grey Knights. So they have only received 1 change, and that is Interceptors have gone up. Interceptors have gone down 5 points for 5 and 10 points for 10. I'm not going to lie to you, it's not really a change that we need to see in the points. It's more in the form of the Warpbane Task Force did receive a also small nerf that you can only now get your rerolls to hit of 1 or all if you can see the target. I'm not going to lie, I don't think this is going to really change them that much at all. So I do just think they're going to stay the same. They're in a pretty good position as it is.
Yeah, I think Grey Knights, like you said, that 1 detachment is doing really well. So yeah, surprised to see some units not go up a little bit. But I think, like you said, it's probably more of a rules change that needs to happen.
We've got Imperial Agents up next. They did receive a points decrease, and even if you take it as an ally, the Collector's Assassin has gone down 15 points. Now, in my opinion, the coolest looking assassin model, but maybe not the most useful as shown by the points decreases. Do we think we're going to see one?
No.
Good. Well, not good. It's a shame. I do just think it's a rules problem with this model, not a points problem. So sadly, anyway, yes, it's been a points decrease for your Imperial Agents. It's not going to do anything, I don't think. Imperial Knights now straight off the heels of their Imperial Agent brethren. The big Knights are sort of more big Dominus class Knights. The Valiant and the Castellan have both gone down 30 points. I think this was represented as well in the Chaos Knight Index change, where the Tyrant went down 30 points. Pretty positive change, I think, but I just don't think you're still going to see these. I think Canis Rex or even one of the big Knights still holds the throne as the big Knight you'll take in your army.
Yeah, I think in the most competitive Imperial Knights list, we're seeing the Lancer with Canis Rex and then a load of armatures around it. So that list doesn't really get affected by these changes.
No, I agree. Leagues of Votann now, so no points changes to note whatsoever. They just obviously had their detachment change, and their army rule change, which was now you can give judgment tokens to anybody, no matter what detachment you are, and then the Oath Band now just gives you more.
Yeah.
Positive change, and to be honest, I think it's a buff for the Leagues of Votann. I think that means that you're going to see a bit more variety. It hasn't changed the Oath Band, but has affected the Hearth Band, so you may see that on the tables. So I'm going to say it's overall it's a buff. but not for points. Points didn't do a single thing.
No, another one that didn't really need any points changes, I guess.
I think they're very good pointed as it is, and I think, to be honest, I think the only changes they will need is when eventually we see an awesome codex for them. It's time to look at the Necrons. They had 1 points increase, and it is to the Doomsday arc. It's finally received a points increase. It's their Doomsday. But not too much of a doomsday.
Oh, right, okay.
Because it's only gone up 10 points.
Oh, a slight clip in there.
Now, 200 points is still a lot now for this model, but again, I don't think it's a significant change. It could have been. All I think you'll see is maybe a unit downgrading to another unit or coming out or enhancements coming out. Yeah. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And I'm just be honest with you, I don't think it is at all.
No, I agree. I think maybe Necrons could have been. It's more of rules changes, I think, with Necrons. With certain builds that can be oppressive. But other than that, I think, like you said, we're not surprised to see this, but it's not going to change too much for Necron players.
One of my favourites now, the Orks. I've been currently raving over how much I love my Orks on our live streams and our members' videos as well. And they have had some nerfs. It's okay. It's okay. Everyone, put the pens down. Put the keyboard warring down. It's okay. It was deserved. 10 points up on the shock attack gun, 15 points up on tank busters, and then the tactical brigade enhancement for the mech captain has also gone up 10 points, making it tied the most expensive enhancement in the game at 45 points.
Well, you're basically paying for Captain Badrock now.
Yes, but he's a big mech. He's a better Captain Badrock.
Yeah.
Just to have a look at this real quick. We've seen tank busters, 3 units in every list. I think they completely justified to go up 15 points. I thought they were going to go up 20. I thought they were going to match their Breaker Boy counterpart. So I'm really happy to see that they have gone up. Big Max with shock attack guns, really happy to see they go up as well. Could they have maybe done with going up slightly more, maybe to 80 points? I think yes, but I think with little nitpicks there is just personally a thing for me. Met Captain 100% should go up. It's probably the best enhancement in the game, in my opinion, to enable these flash kits in that detachment just to be a menace. But yeah, so overall, I do think the Orks are just going to stay stagnant if we look at it purely from points. But if you want to know how the Mordaka detachment affects it, go check that video out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's justified for the Big Mech with shock attack gun to go up. He's very good in the shooting builds, and as we're starting to lean more towards shooting builds, I can maybe imagine more of the shooting stuff going up in the future. Yeah, again, only time will tell, but I do think completely justified the points increases, and one that I do just think that, like, just to give you an example for my list went up 85 points. Yeah. That was just a unit of Storm Boys, downgrading some burners and taking out an enhancement, and I'm now all fine. Yeah. Honestly, hasn't changed my list too much, and I still do think is quite strong. So don't you worry, everyone. Meat is still on the menu. Meat is on the menu? Yeah, I think that's the Lord of the Rings thing, isn't it? It is, yeah. Cool. Yeah, I like it. What's the next army? Right, it's the biggest one of them all. It's Codex Space Marine. Let's talk about the increases first before we talk about the decreases. So, Ballistus Dreadnought went up 10 points. Justified. It probably should never have come down. No, I don't know why it went down. It's now gone back to its original 140 that it was beforehand. Company Hero's gone up 10. Again, I think completely justified. Minus Calgar has gone up 10 points as well. Mittens, man, it's going to be costing more for those big gloves. But yeah, they have gone up, I think, again, completely justified. Predators, Annihilators and Destructors. The Annihilator has gone up 5. The Destructor has gone up 10, as we've seen across the board. The Vindicator has gone up 10 as well, to match the Chaos Space Marine counterparts. And a Whirlwind has gone up 10 as well. Now, from playing against these Whirlwinds, I'm really glad to see they've gone up, to be honest, because they are very mean with a double Oath of Moment from Raboot Gulliman and in certain detachments as well. And then in terms of enhancements that went up, we have seen a 20-point increase on the Librarius Concave Fusillade. Okay. Don't know what that does, to be honest with you. I'm not very familiar on the Librarius Conclave. I'm pretty sure that's the one that gives you sustained hits. Okay. And there's another rule that comes alongside it. Yeah. I'm surprised to see that Gilliman didn't go up. Yes, he is quite an interesting beaver. The fact he didn't actually go up at all. I do think he has a lot of points there at 345, even to the point where I do think in a lot of builds you need a lot of justification for him. But I am really happy to see the Vindicators go up. I'm really happy to see Whirlwinds go up. Great to see the Ballistas go back up, and especially Minus Calgar as well. I think he is the one, if I had to pick one of the two to go up in points, it was him. Okay, that's fair enough. And I think that's really good. But there are some points decreases as well. We've got Blagar Veterans have gone down 10 for 3 or 20 for 6. Wow. The
Centurion Devastators have gone down 20 points for 3 and 40 points for 6. And then also, something really interesting to note, the Gladius Task Force Fire Discipline has gone down 15 points.
Finally.
Yes, because it was ridiculously expensive for losing quite a good ability on it. That's a really interesting one. Now, Centurion Devastators going down, I actually think is completely justified because now Uriel Ventress can no longer give them the deep strike ability with his thing, meaning that those builds where you were sort of seeing them in the Vanguard Space Marines, taking them off the table and putting them back on, isn't a thing anymore. I think because of that, they've lost a load of mobility. Really right to go down, in my opinion. Fire Discipline going down, I think, is great as well. Overall, though, how do we think Space Marines have come out here?
Really, I think it's a mixed bag. It depends on the build you're doing. I think for the Ultramarine, Gunline, Tank Spam, obviously it's a really massive debuffs. But does that mean Blade Guard have gone down to 80 points?
For free. Now, I think actually now, with Company Heroes going up 10 as well, if you are looking for just a cheap unit to sit with a character, I think Blade Guard Veterans may, for me, just pip it over Company Heroes.
I'm confused why they've gone down.
Yeah, 25 points is the difference between Company Heroes and Blade Guard, and admittedly, I feel that Company Heroes are just a better Blade Guard.
I thought at 90 points, they probably sat at a balanced area.
But they weren't being used loads, right? So I think this is probably a justified change to maybe see them more on the table, and especially with Company Heroes going up. Like I said, I felt that the Blade Guard and the Company Heroes did very similar things. So it's interesting to see now that one went up, which was the more efficient version of it. The other went down, and maybe you could see them bodyguarding them. I don't know for sure, but I'm excited to find out. What do you think in the comment section? Index Space Wolves is up next. Hasn't changed a bit. No changes for the Index Space Wolves. They were already doing quite well in Champions of Rust. They probably will receive some minor nerfs just due to the Space Marine Codex changes, but I don't think anything that's that significant. If they haven't had any changes to their key units, I think it's a...
Well, they've had a few nerfs previously with Storm Lancer builds and stuff, and obviously Thunderwolves going up previously, and I think they probably do deserve to just have a balanced late slate where they just stay stagnant, and then see how they're doing after that.
I 100% agree with you, Jord, and I think it's going to be interesting to see where they go from here. Tau Empire next up. They only actually received one change, well, to points at least, and that was Crew Rampages. They've gone down 10 points for 3 and 20 points for 6. Again, a unit that you only really see in the Crew detachment. So I think, again, justified that they've gone down. And also for the Tau Empire, they did have a new detachment in the form of the experimental prototype cadre. We do also have a video of that coming soon, or is already out at the time of this being out. So if it is and you're very interested to know what it does, check it out. But I do think Tau do just sit again stagnant. I don't think they were an army that were causing loads of issues. So again, I don't think they deserved any nerfs.
Agreed. Thousand Suns?
Thousand Suns now. Thousand Suns is an interesting one, folks, because it is a myriad of red and green. Okay, so let's talk about the points increases first. We've got Mutilated Vortex Beasts have gone up 5 points. Predators of both types, obviously 5 and 10 respectively. That's just a change across the board. Vindicators have also gone up 10 for them as well. Interesting.
It's interesting to see that they've had increase on the Vindicator, but CSM didn't.
I think it's so then now all the Vindicators cost the same points.
Oh, so they're the same points anyway?
Yeah, so now so they were all cheaper, now they're all the same.
Sure.
But yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then in terms of points decreases, we've got a unit of 20 cultists now costs 10 less points. You weren't really seeing that anyway, so I don't think that
changes anything.
Scarab Occult Terminators have gone down 10 for 5 and 20 for 10.
Okay, good.
The Sorcerer and Terminator armor has gone down 10 points. Zangor Enlightened have gone down 10 points for 6, but none for 3. And Zangor have gone down 10 for 20 and none for 65.
So it's kind of encouraging the bigger units going down in points, and then the Terminators are being encouraged a little bit more, which is good to see, actually.
Yeah, it's interesting actually with Zangor, because you can do this whole thing where you teleport them across the table and then they charge and just like sort of wrap your opponent. So it's interesting to see that's gone down in points. Again, for Thousand Suns, I don't think it's really hit any of their units they were using loads. There's no nerfs to rubrics, there's no nerf to any other characters, there's no buff to any other characters, Magnus as well. So again, I think they're pretty stagnant. They are on the roadmap, so again, I think it's stagnant, and for the about millionth time in this video, we'll just have to wait and see. I see I changed it, I baited you.
Yeah.
Right, Tyranids up next. We do have, again, some points decreases and points increases. The Tyrannofex went up 10 points. The Exocrine went up 5 points.
Yes, finally!
It's good for all the Jord fanboys out there. But that is the only points increases. Now, in terms of decreases, the Neurolictor went down 10 points, which I think is an interesting one. The Trigon went down 10 points as well. And finally, the Hive Tyrant went down 10 points as well. Now, I think more the note here is the Hive Tyrant going down in points. He was pretty used anyway, from what I'm aware of.
It kind of washes out the Exocrine, to be honest, because most people took 2 to 3 Exocrines competitively, especially in the UK. So it just washes out the Exocrine changes. I'm surprised the Exocrine. I've been saying this since, actually, Jay, I've been saying this since the very first balanced data slate. The Exocrines probably could make it to about 150 points. They're currently 135.
Yeah, well, they're now 140. 140. So, you know, that's going to be good. To be honest, I don't think it does anything for Tyranids. Like you said, I think it just washes all out in the thing, and I think they're just going to stay stagnant.
Yeah, agreed.
Finally, if you stayed to the end of the video, by the way, make sure you comment. Thank you for all the rambling, Jake.
Yeah.
Or just put Ramble Nation, I don't
Ramble
know.
Nation.
Ramble Nation.
Hashtag Ramble Nation.
Ramble Nation. Just so that I know what point of the video you got to.
Yeah.
Because I'll be watching. Index World Eaters. Again, the final sort of one on this roadmap that GW have brought out. So we know that a codex is coming soon for them. When? No idea. But they have given us some points changes in the meantime. Demon Princes on foot and Demon Princes with wings have gone down 15 points each.
Okay, interesting.
The Predator Annihilator and the Predator Destructor have gone up 5 points and up 10 points.
To keep it.
Yeah, Lord on Juggernaut has gone down 20. And that is it. Now, things to note, the Forge Fiends for them were already really cheap, so they didn't go down in points. They were already like 35 points cheaper than the CSM one. So overall, Predators going up was just to really keep them in check, so then they're the same as everybody else. But to be honest, I don't think this is going to do anything for World Eaters. If in anything, I think it buffs them.
Yeah,
like just slightly, not massively, but I think little bit of buffs here. Demon Prince with Wings is 155 points. That is not bad.
So the thing is with the Demon Prince with Wings in the World Eaters army is it's such a weird data sheet in the fact that it forces battle shock, but it gets reroll hits and wounds against the target. But if he doesn't kill the target, he dies. Out of the game. So it's such a weird data sheet.
Okay.
It's just a fly-in flat 3 damage model, which World Eaters do like in certain matchups.
Yeah.
So maybe you see it more because it's cheaper, but who knows? I haven't really tried it in the World Eaters list. It just looks like a weird data sheet.
No. Again, if you're a World Eaters fan and you're excited, let us know in the comment section below. But Jord, that is it. That is all the points changes for the Munitorum Field Manual March 2025.
Yeah, and how are you feeling? Do you think this has been do you think there's been enough changes? Do you think that it's been positive for the whole game? Who do you think's been hit the worst? What's your thoughts?
I do think that in terms of some winners here, I do think that there's no real obvious winners, because when we look at it as an overall fact, there's more increases than there are decreases. I think the biggest winner for me is probably either Demons or Sisters.
Yes.
I think Sisters, ironically, the one we spoke about first.
Yeah.
I think they are a big winner of this for just points. If I was to look at other things like detachments and all these other sort of facts, I do think that you know, we could say a load of different ones, which maybe we'll do a video for at another time. But yeah, I think Sisters have probably been a massive winner of this. I think Demons as well, actually. Like the fact that they've confirmed they've got your index, you'll be able to play it. I think it's just a win anyway. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
I think like Orks going up in points is maybe like a slight loss, but I don't think, again, I think it all washes out like I mentioned with how I changed my list. I think some of the units, I think actually some of the armies that have been affected the most in terms of nerfs though.
Be like Guard.
Guard is definitely one that has seen probably the biggest nerf in my opinion. I don't think theirs is that big of a deal, though. I think if we were to look at the difference between the impact of Guard with the nerf to Bridgehead Strike, the points increases across the board.
Rules alongside points.
Yeah, I think they have just been double whammied here. Yeah. Whereas I think with Eldar, the points increases were justified, and they probably should have been around that points anyway, in my opinion.
Agreed.
But again, like I've been saying for the whole video, only time will tell.
It's a weird one. I think this has actually been one of the lightest balanced data slate points changes we've seen in 10th edition so far, and I think that's because for the most part the game is relatively balanced. I think we just have a few top lists, or certain factions have a single build that's just really strong, and like certain data sheets are being spammed, and maybe that's what they've tried to hit here in the balanced data slate.
Yeah, I definitely feel that there's more rules that can be changed that would affect the game better than points, and I think this is a perfect example of that. Well, Jord, it's been good.
Yeah, it has.
My throat hurts.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jake, thank you for going through that with me. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are with the balanced data slate, and obviously with the Munitorum Field Manual changes. Let us know how it affects your list and your factions. Put it in the comments below. Let's have a healthy discussion on the changes here, and we'll see you in the next video.